here inside the press box.
You're all welcome, whether it's Auburn, whether it's Georgia, whether it's Tennessee, whether it's South Carolina, whether it's Vanderbilt. You're welcome inside the press box on great radio stations around the Southeast, 20 affiliate partners in Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Tennessee, and South Carolina. Also online, pressboxradio.com. And now, a live video courtesy of the Mike Grace Live Facebook page. You'll find us there and some great goodies as well on YouTube. Just search Pressbox Radio on YouTube as well. All of yesterday's interviews are archived up there, thanks to Colin Lacy. And we're running live today right there as well. So you can find us there with later today. We'll post all of today's interviews. I was under the impression, fellas, again, Mike Grace hanging out with Mike Mote and on site at the College Football Hall of Fame Media Days for the SEC, our Colin Lacy and his helper, Brent Osborne. I was under the impression that Auburn was leading things off today, but no, it's actually Georgia and Kirby Smart who will go first. He's brought his quarterback, Gunnar Stockton, his defensive back, Dalen Everett, and linebacker, C.J. Allen. Hugh Freeze then will go at 12:15 Eastern Time. Jackson Arnold, his quarterback, Keldrick Foss, defensive lineman, and Connor Liu, offensive lineman, will be here. Let's talk about Auburn. I mean, how big a deal is this for Hugh Freeze? You know, he's going to be asked about recruiting. You know, he's going to be asked about the line that both he and athletic director John Cohen threw out there a week or so ago in an interview regarding who's playing by the rules and who's not. Colin, what do you expect to hear from Hugh Freeze today, friend?
I don't know. He's one that I could see about three different directions of where they go. Because he's going to get the questions about recruiting. He's going to get the questions about what the last couple of years have been. I could see him very well being the person that is just oh, well, we're looking ahead to this year, the usual coach speak that you hear every year. But I could also see him being one that is a little bit fiery today and kind of popping back at folks and essentially him just being tired of hearing it, which I don't know how you can be, but I could see him being the one because Lane Kiffin didn't really give you a whole lot of the fireworks that you're used to hearing from Lane Kiffin. He was pretty vocal on what the salary cap and if that was going to happen yesterday, but there wasn't anything really to take a ton away from it. And I just wonder if Hugh Freeze is going to be that guy here today.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it could go either way. Like you said, I think that there are reasons for there to be some optimism at Auburn because you do have a new quarterback, and a lot of folks say their wide receiver room is good and all of that. But I think there's also some reasons to have a lot of questions because this is not gone as well as I think a lot of folks expected. They took a step backwards last year, and I don't think they can afford to do that again this time. You can't be 6-6 at the end of this year and expect the fan base to be happy, especially when you're seeing at least the reports about where Auburn ranks in the recruiting part of it. I mean, yeah, we know that the transfer portal is alive and well and all of that, but still, you've got to build your program. You've got to have some. You can't be 80 something in recruiting if you're an SEC team expected to compete for playoff positioning. It's just not going to work out that way. We have not seen it that way, and I don't think it will ever be. So I think there are going to be some questions and there's some pressure. And it'd be interesting to see if Hugh Freeze feels that pressure and says anything about it today, because I think he does have some pressure on him. And if he doesn't feel that way, then I don't know what it's going to take, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and my thing, I know everybody wants to talk, and that's pretty much all there is to talk about at this point in the season, because you can put a depth chart together and in 6 minutes it'll be different. But I think recruiting is the big thing that everybody looks at now to try to get something. But Brent, you and I talked yesterday with Rusty Mansell that we'll hear from a little bit later on, and it's up on YouTube on the Pressbox Radio YouTube page. But he's heavily involved in the recruiting in the state of Georgia, and he pretty much is the guru of recruiting in the state of Georgia. And he talked about not only how NIL has affected the high school recruiting side of it, but also how the transfer portal has affected what recruiting has turned into this year. I'm not going to say that you don't need to look at the recruiting numbers, but I think you look at them in a different light now than what you did 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah, you definitely do. I mean, the big thing that used to always happen, and I mean it still does today, is who's going to sign these 4 and 5 star recruits? Who's going to be able to get the most of those in here? And yes, some of those are coming in and making impacts right away. I mean, you've got your freaks that I think of like a Caleb Downs,
Yeah.
that comes in, and a Jeremiah Williams that comes in and makes an impact right away. But where a lot of teams are being able to separate themselves is getting in that transfer portal and being able to get those guys that are going to make impacts. Yeah, they may not be a 4 or a 5 star that's going to be like boosting their recruiting or their recruiting rank, but those guys are going to come in and make an impact right away. And that's something that Rusty talked about yesterday was when he talks to these coaches and talks to them about the high school recruiting process and everything, is that a lot of the college coaches, they can't take a risk on an unproved high school player when they've got kids in the transfer portal that have film from college that have proven themselves on the college level, and it kind of puts them in a really tough spot. And so, I do think that now with the transfer portal that the recruiting rankings for the most part are a little bit skewed just because you don't really factor in what teams have coming in from the transfer portal and what players they're bringing in. For instance, I mean, last year you're Ohio State and you go get Quinshaw Judkins and Caleb Downs from Alabama and Ole Miss. Well, guess what? That wasn't even factored into their recruiting. And so obviously they brought in some really good guys that aren't factored into those rankings. And so, but I do think that that's something that kind of skews the numbers just a little bit when it does come to recruiting as well.
Here's the bottom line for me in regards to Auburn and Hugh Freeze. He can appear today, and if he wants to read Edgar Allan poems, Edgar Allan Poe, it doesn't matter what he said. It doesn't matter what he says.
Sounds like The Rock.
Well,
It doesn't matter.
It really doesn't. It's about winning football games. I mean, again, he could say anything he wants to say, good, bad, indifferent. It does. He could no show. It doesn't matter. His job is the decision's going to be based on how many wins he comes with. He's got to win football games, guys.
Yeah, and he better win the first one against Baylor because to me that's a huge win
Mm-hmm.
in his cap. Because and Baylor's good, folks. They're not just a middle of the road Big 12 team. A lot of folks think highly of them. We've talked to the guys from the Big 12 media day last week, and he has a lot of positives to say. I mean, that's an important game for both coaches, Dave Aranda and of course Hugh Freeze. But Hugh Freeze, as you said, Mike, I mean the pressure's on. I mean, you've had your 2 years. You had the Brian Harsin time where you didn't have any recruits. Well, you've had now 3 cycles almost of recruiting, 2 complete ones for sure. And you'd better figure it out. If you're not figuring it out by now, then when will you? And I think that's the question that Auburn fans have and should have. And regardless of what he says today, that ain't going to change their feeling about that.
And in the day and age of the transfer portal, you've got head coaches turning programs around like
A lot
this
quicker.
all over all over the country. Now, I'm not saying everybody's doing that, but I'm saying it's possible. And being the recruiter that he's supposed to be, being the quarterback guru that he's supposed to be. I mean, to me, yeah, the opener is big, but that SEC opener on the road, September 20th at Oklahoma,
Huge.
he takes the former Sooner quarterback, Jackson Arnold, back to Norman to open the SEC season for Auburn. I view that as a must win for that team. If they get off to an 0-1 SEC start, with Georgia their next SEC opponent, well, I got Texas A&M in between.
Well, and that's another team that a lot of people think can make some noise in Oklahoma. I know Bart is not necessarily on that train yet, but I think there's a lot of people, and we're scouring the digital drive to try to find a couple of Oklahoma folks to talk to later in the week. But that's an Oklahoma team that a lot of people think can be much improved under Brent Venables and can be a thorn in the side of a lot of people in the SEC. And I don't think it's crazy to say that 0-1 is more likely. I'm not going to say it's probable, but I think it's more likely than a lot of people in Auburn want to say.
You play to win the game. Thank you, Herm Edwards.
Thank you, Herm Edwards. Yeah.
That's exactly what it's all about for Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers. Look, when it comes down to it, that's the same for everybody. How about Kirby Smart and his Georgia Bulldogs? They want to get back to the championship caliber and win another national title, bring it back to Athens. We'll talk about the Dogs when we come back after a quick timeout as you listen to the Press Box on great radio stations around the Southeast, online, PressBoxRadio.com, and check out the video feed now live at Mike Grace Live on Facebook. Back after a quick timeout.